there, welcome back to Storytime with Miss Lindell and Ender, where we tackle the really important mathematical questions and stories. Ouch, Ender. Today he's got a gecko toy, but he seems to prefer chewing on my hand. So, here we go. What? It's okay. Alright, today's story is about Harold and Gerald and the really big numbers. So we've got little Harold and little Gerald. We're going to talk about some big numbers with them. Okay. So, one day Harold says, "My dad says there's about 100 billion stars in the Milky Way." And Gerald says, "Well, how many is that?" "That's a good question." "Well," he said, "some galaxies have as little as 10 million stars, or as many as 1 trillion. "So, medium," Gerald says. "I still don't know how big that is." "Well, let's think about it like time, since that's a little bit easier for us to understand. And visualize anyway. What if I had 1,000,000 seconds? Well, it turns out that 1,000,000 seconds, if you divide by 60 seconds in a minute, and then again by 60 minutes in an hour, and then again by 24 hours in a day, you get 11.57 days. So that's 1,000,000 seconds. So then 10 million seconds, the smaller end of the galaxy spectrum, about 115.74 days. So that's a lot of days, but it's, a manageable thing to think about, right? Well, let's look at the other end of the spectrum. 1 trillion seconds ends up being 31,688.088 years. Yikes, that's a lot of seconds. And then Gerald says, "That's longer than my dad's been alive." All right. So then what's 1,000,000,000 seconds, or 100 billion? So if you look at 1,000,000,000 seconds, you end up getting 31.688 years. Or 100 billion seconds would just be 100 times that, so 3,168.809 years. Wow, that's a big difference there between 1,000,000,000 and 100 billion. And so, they're thinking down here, that's still a lot, but why is it such a big difference between 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000 and 1,000,000,000,000? Well, that's a great question. See, our brains are wired to think logarithmically. And so we have this notion that the differences between 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000 is very similar or the same as the difference between 1,000,000,000 and 1,000,000,000,000, when actually they differ by quite a bit more, arithmetically anyways. So interesting things to think about. So then Harold says, either way, 10 million, 100 billion, 1,000,000,000, that's still a lot of stars. And then Gerald says, "This is making me hungry. Let's go eat a Milky Way." The end. All right, well, it turns out Ender has gone over to the corner to sleep. Must have worn him out with the story. So tune in next time for more mathematical story time with Miss Lindell and Ender. Have a good one.